Hi, guys. We're here at Consensus. I've got Dennis Porter with me, the CEO and co-founder of Satoshi Action Fund. We're coming off of a rally yesterday, a day at the Capitol, lots of lobbying activity. What is your, feeling, your analysis of how both of those went? Let's look at them separately, the rally and then the lobbying activity. How do you feel about it?
I thought it was a really productive day and that we had a lot of success bringing people together. I mean, it's the first rally that I've done for Bitcoin and for Bitcoin mining. And it was very successful. Obviously there was a lot of different groups that showed up, and I think we want to make sure that we tell those people to keep showing up. That was the big message of kind of my, speech when I got up there, was like, it's so important that you show up to these things because that impacts policy. That impacts when we go into lobby, they look outside the window, right? And they see crowds getting together to push a specific agenda, to push a specific piece of policy, and they notice that, and it makes a difference. So I thought the rally went really well. I was glad to see Brad Jones come up, former CEO. That was huge. We also had Wayne Christian there. Love that guy. Great speaker. Always good to hang out with Wayne Christian. Was on a panel with him during Empower as well. So it's great to see some of these leaders show up for that rally that we had. And then to be able to go back into the Capitol right afterwards was fun. I thought the lobbying went very well. Obviously, there's some things that went on, I think, that are going to be very beneficial to our efforts. We were just meeting with whoever we could. Part of it is you just have to meet, and you educate. And Brad Jones needs to be hired full time to just sit in the Capitol and just tell everybody how great Bitcoin mining is.
I wish we could. He keeps telling me, people ask him for his business card, and he says, "Well, I don't actually have one. If I did, it would just say retired." So I think he really wants to be retired. But we're grateful that he came out, he spoke, he went with us to probably 10 different offices.
Yeah, we spent at least a few hours in the morning on our own, and then he joined us for the evening.
Yep.
And it was like 8 to 10, maybe 12, somewhere in that range, different offices that we hit. And it was every single time.
When we had our bid down, it was like lead off,
yeah,
and then you would say something, and then like you would mention, ancillary services, and then he would go, and then they would talk about the bill, and then I would go. It was like, it kind of went the same way in several different meetings.
Which is why it's important, I think, to also get out there and have these meetings on a regular basis, because then you get into a rhythm. Like if you just go for 1 or 2 meetings, it's great. But if you're able to get into a rhythm of what you say and the group that you're with, it's very valuable. And it kind of culminated with that last office where I think we had a very big impact on some folks that care a lot about this bill.
So where are we with the bill? So it's in committee, State Affairs, right? It's in the State Affairs Committee. It has an author, great guy, that remain anonymous, right? The Senate author is really the author that's pushing the bill, and we continually say she's a great patriot, a great lawmaker, but just misinformed on this issue. I mean, and that's okay. Like, she's filed 600 bills this session, right? We're all human. So the more that we can educate her, the better. She's a very experienced lawmaker, very influential lawmaker. So we will be doing a lot of that. But we need to kill the bill, regardless of whether or not we get to her before or after, right? Because worldview, she's aligned. She's anti-central bank digital currencies. She's pro-freedom. We'll eventually have her, advocate, or at least neutral, right? If not advocating on our behalf. So in the meantime, we got to kill the bill. That means it doesn't pass the House because it already passed the Senate. I'm feeling really strong about that. I know, we've got a lot of allies in the House that are assisting with that. So I'm confident that it's still not going to pass. What's your confidence level?
I try to, be careful about how confident I get in these situations because I don't want it to sneak up on me and cause this shooting, which I know you also have been very careful about, saying, oh, we're definitely going to kill this thing, because it's one of those things where you don't want to be overly confident because you couldn't kind of lull you into place of complacency where you're like, don't worry, guys, we got to handle. We need to be very vigilant, I think, in making sure that we are full court press. This is like a championship game. If we lose this game, there's very big consequences for Bitcoin mining. I've been talking to multiple investors, energy companies, even foreign energy companies that are looking to invest in the Texas market. And they just said, frankly, we're not going to invest until we see the outcome of this legislation. And that if it passes, we probably are going to pass on Texas.
Well, to steal a phrase from Brad Jones, it just doesn't make any sense. He said,
what's the motivation?
He kept saying, it just doesn't make any sense. The beauty of it is what we have in Texas is a free market for power, and we have a deregulated market. We have ancillary services that ERCOT procures on a daily basis. And if you pull miners out of those ancillary services, it necessarily means that prices are going to go up. Now, he was not shy in saying that. I thought he might say, yes, and prices will probably go up. He said, no, absolutely, prices will go up, which is what you and I know as students of economics and these power markets. And he knows it too. I was just thinking he was going to be more diplomatic, but he was very firm on that point.
It was great to see him in action, saying the things that we all know are true. But typically someone in his position would be a little bit more careful about how they present.
Right.
But it was such a solid fact that this is occurring, that Bitcoin mining is driving down the amount of money that Texas grid operators are spending to provide these services, that he was just more than happy, more comfortable. And that's not just coming from him being the former CEO of ERCOT, who's also the former CEO and leader of the New York ISO. So this is not just like, oh, I'm a Texas guy, let's do Texas the way we do Texas. This guy
and the Northeastern Power Grid, yeah.
It's you're coming from running one of the most important grids in America and one of the most populated states in the country, and he is there on the front line saying that Bitcoin miners are the most cost-effective, efficient resource that we can use for things like demand response.
Yep. So where do we go from here? Say a month from now, this bill is totally dead. How do we?
That's the plan, right?
That's the plan. How do we reorient our efforts towards educating lawmakers around the country? Because if it's going to happen in Texas, it's going to happen everywhere, right? Because this was considered the safest state for Bitcoin mining. And so I know you guys are out on the front lines in other states getting the right to mine bills passed. What do you think has been the most, effective communication tactic with those legislators?
Well, for us so far, the thought process around what's happening in Texas is that people are surprised, but in some of these states they're almost like happy to see Texas give them some market.
Gives them a chance.
Yeah, I mean
we've sucked up all the oxygen in the room for a while.
There's really no one really had any sort of chances to soak up the market the way Texas did, and now that there seems to be some sort of like, okay, maybe we should pause and wait. There is states like Ohio are very aggressively trying to make sure that they have an opportunity to soak up some of this available load.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ohio Council's lobbying for the bill to pass.
There you go. Yeah, that's right.
Just kidding. They would never do that. They're great guys, and we are big fans of them. But no, your point is well taken, that they have probably some market share to gain as a result of this.
That's right. And I think that it also, I will say Texas has been an absolute leader on Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. And you've led the way on showing the world on what can be done with this technology. But also, I think this is a good lesson to be learned for everybody else. It's like, don't take your foot off the gas pedal. Keep pushing forward with education, no matter where you're at. I know that TBC has been leading on education and doing that here in Texas, but it kind of just puts in everybody's mind like, oh, we cannot take anything for granted. We need to be doing everything possible to maximize our educational efforts, because even in the place where we thought nothing could happen, it can happen. And that's one of the messages I tell people. In the political space, you cannot take anything for granted. You need to keep showing up. You need to support organizations like the TBC and others that are doing hard work on the front lines. And you need to be highly engaged with your policymakers. Either, if you can't be friends with them, build a relationship and hand them over to organizations like Satoshi Action Fund or the TBC so that we can continue that educational process.
Well, Dennis, thanks for being here to have this conversation. It's an important conversation. We'll be here all week lobbying, advocating. I'm sure you guys will as well. So I know people can follow you guys on Twitter. They already follow your personal account on Twitter. I'm sure most of our viewers do. But if you don't also follow their Satoshi Action account, where can they do that?
Yeah, it's just Satoshi Act Fund on Twitter. And then also we have our website, of course, as well, satoshiaction.io. And then we have our new entity as well, Satoshi Action Education, which is just satoshiaction.org. And yeah, it's been really great to be here with you in Austin. We were here not that long ago. It sounds like we're going to be coming back again. We really need to make sure that we do not let this bill move forward. I think we have a few different opportunities and angles on how we can make sure it doesn't pass, but we're lucky to have those opportunities and we can't take any of them for granted. So we'll be here right alongside you guys, making sure that Texas continues to lead on Bitcoin mining.
Agreed. Blood, sweat, and tears. We'll make it happen. Hey, Hey guys, thanks for watching. We had a great time here at Consensus. At the Texas Blockchain Council, we are striving to be the nexus between traditional industries, banking, finance, legal, energy, and the digital asset industry. So we want to help you get your brand in front of those kinds of companies with B2B opportunities. Reach out to us if that's of interest for membership or for sponsorship at the summit. Hope to see you there in November in Fort Worth. Thanks again. We look forward to seeing you at the summit.